You were not supposed to find this video, not because it was hidden, but because most people scroll past it without a second glance. They see the thumbnail, they keep moving, their unconscious quietly deciding this is not for them. But you stopped, and that single moment, that pause, is not as random as it feels right now. Jung spent decades studying exactly this: why certain people are drawn toward depth while others spend their entire lives skimming the surface. Why some individuals sense things before they happen, feel what others cannot articulate, dream in symbols that later walk into their waking life. And what he discovered was not a mystical secret reserved for the chosen few. It was something far more precise, far more personal. A pattern written into you before you drew your first breath. Here is what most people will never understand about themselves: the restlessness you have carried for years, the feeling that you perceive the world differently from those around you, the moments you knew something was wrong before any evidence appeared, the exhaustion that comes from simply being in a crowded room. You have probably been told you are too sensitive, too intense, too much. But what if none of that was a flaw? What if every single one of those experiences was the unconscious trying to hand you a map, and you have been folding it up and putting it away your entire life? This is not a personality quiz. This is not a list of feel-good affirmations. What you are about to encounter is a psychological excavation, rooted in Carl Jung's deepest work on the collective unconscious, archetypes, and the individuation process. By the end, you will not just understand what your spiritual gift is. You will understand why you have always had it, why it frightened you, and why the world specifically needs the version of you that stops hiding it. Most people will watch something else tonight. They will choose comfort over clarity. But you are still here, and that already tells you something. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Your greatest and most beautiful journey is the one that leads you back to yourself. Subscribe to Carl Jung Philosophy and hit the like button, and let's walk that path together. If this opening has already stirred something quiet inside you, if some part of you recognized itself in those words before your mind had time to analyze them, drop 1111 in the comments below. That number carries the frequency of awakening, and this community needs to know how many of us are opening our eyes at the same time. There is something within you that not everyone can perceive, but the unconscious always recognizes with absolute clarity. That is precisely why you are here, reading these lines in this particular moment. This is not coincidence. Perhaps the deepest layer of you is attempting to remind you of something the conscious mind has long forgotten. The spiritual gift that was placed within you even before you released your first cry into the world. Today, you will not simply consume content, you will enter an experience. A compact journey, yet potent enough to brush against the thin veil separating consciousness from the unconscious. Jung believed that every individual carries a unique frequency that shapes the way they encounter reality. And your gift, whether it manifests as razor-sharp intuition or the capacity to empathize at extraordinary depth, did not materialize by accident. It is the resonance of ancestral memory,
the imprints and sorrows you believed you had left behind. In the moments ahead, you will encounter signals you may have once dismissed entirely. The sensation of knowing before knowing, a sensitivity that surpasses the ordinary. The eerie recognition that you have inhabited this exact moment somewhere long before now. And at this pivotal threshold, do not turn away.
Because what unfolds next may be the missing fragment your unconscious has been searching for across years of living. The origin of the spiritual gift reaches further back than your own birth. Even before you opened your eyes for the first time, a part of you already understood what it was carrying. Jung articulated it clearly. The soul does not arrive in life as a blank surface. It resembles a seed that already contains its complete map of development. Life's sole obligation is to awaken that seed, nourish it, and provide the precise conditions for it to reveal its authentic form. The spiritual gift is woven into that map. It is the most profound pattern you carry from the unconscious, not something absorbed from the outside world later, but something you already were before you could name yourself. Observe young children, and the evidence appears immediately. In their earliest years, they display unmistakable signs of their innate nature. Certain children instinctively extend their hands toward the faces of others who are weeping, as though the knowledge of how to soothe lives in their fingertips by pure instinct. Others will remain motionless for long stretches, transfixed by a single leaf on the ground, as though engaged in silent dialogue with an invisible dimension. Still others experience recurring dreams of landscapes they have never visited. Many adults attribute these tendencies to the innocent peculiarities of childhood, but from Jung's perspective, they are early indicators, quiet announcements of the spiritual gift taking shape inside each child. This nature does not emerge from the environment. Rather, the environment is simply the terrain where the gift seeks to make itself visible. Jung held that human beings inherit not only biological genes, but also the collective unconscious, a subtle ancient current of memory in which the accumulated experiences, convictions, fears, creative capacities, and intuitive wisdom of countless ancestors are preserved intact. This is not mystical in any superstitious sense. Contemporary research on intergenerational memory demonstrates that the trauma, emotional patterns, and adaptive abilities of prior generations can leave measurable imprints on descendants through both biology and behavior. When Jung says that your spiritual gift has roots extending back through multiple generations, he is not romanticizing the past. He is offering a precise description of how the human soul carries traces that stretch well beyond the boundaries of a single lifetime. Consider a family with a long tradition of healing, perhaps a grandmother who neighbors quietly sought out during their most desperate hours, a grandfather who guided others through grief without ever once speaking of his own capacity to do so. Those abilities do not dissolve when such people depart from this life. They embed themselves into the family's unconscious as a living current of energy, waiting to be carried forward. And sometimes that current selects you. You grow up capable of reading another person's emotional state through the quality of their eyes alone. You instinctively locate the precise words that dissolve someone's distress. You may interpret it as simple compassion, but it may, in reality, be a spiritual gift you received without ever filling out an application for it. From another perspective, the spiritual gift can also emerge directly from fractures, both personal and familial. Jung consistently maintained that the wound is where the light enters. Someone who developed within a tense or unpredictable environment may cultivate acute observational skills purely as a mechanism for psychological survival. But across time, those same skills transform into something far more sophisticated, into sharp intuition, into the gift of perceiving precisely what others overlook. A child who once endured profound isolation may construct an extraordinarily rich interior world as a form of self-preservation. In adulthood, that same interior world becomes the source of vivid symbolic dreams, remarkable imaginative power, and sometimes a direct bridge to the unconscious itself. What once rendered us fragile becomes the precise soil in which the spiritual gift takes deepest root. The spiritual gift also emerges through the specific archetypes each person carries. Archetypes are living patterns embedded within the collective unconscious. Some individuals carry the archetype of the healer, others the guide, the observer, or the creator. These are not personalities absorbed from external sources. They are psychological currents flowing beneath all behavior, all choice, all relationship. When you respond to life, select your work, pursue love, or navigate difficulty, you are expressing your archetype, even when you have no awareness of doing so. Someone carrying the archetype of the dreamer may recall little of their early childhood, yet possess an imagination so extraordinary that their dreams astonish even themselves. Someone with the archetype of the observer can identify concealed motivations behind others' actions without being able to explain the mechanism by which they know. Someone carrying the archetype of the healer has been, since childhood, the person others confide in, without any deliberate effort on their part. These patterns are not casual preferences. They are signatures of something you carried long before the external world began instructing you on who you ought to become. What is remarkable is that the spiritual gift nearly always surfaces early in life. Yet we consistently fail to recognize it because it feels so completely natural. Like an individual born with perfect musical pitch, who assumes everyone experiences sound exactly as they do. The gift's very naturalness causes us to treat it as unremarkable, until life eventually positions us in circumstances that force a second look. Jung also observed that the soul arrives in life with a particular inclination. Each person possesses an innate tendency to develop in a specific direction. Some incline toward feeling, others toward intuition, still others toward profound analytical depth. When you live in alignment with that inclination, existence itself begins to feel like moving with a current rather than against one. And ultimately, your spiritual gift exists for a purpose that transcends personal advantage. It is the language the soul employs to communicate with the world, to guide you toward becoming the most authentic version of yourself. the version you were carrying before you were born. Now, what shape is that gift taking within you? Every seed seeks to emerge from the earth, yet each individual blooms in their own distinct manner. Some bloom through penetrating intuition, others through quiet, profound empathy. Still others through dreams that arrive with the precision of navigational instruments. If you feel a gentle stirring in your chest as you absorb these words, as though some dormant fragment of memory has just been roused, stay present a little longer. This journey may be guiding you toward the most significant recognition you will experience, the precise nature of the gift you have always been carrying. If this channel has been accompanying your interior world in ways that feel true, leave a 777 in the comments. That number holds the frequency of sacred wisdom, and this community deserves to see how many of us are walking the same depth together. When Jung stated that each person enters life guided by an archetype, he was not gesturing toward abstract philosophy. He was describing very real, very immediate capacities, so subtle that those who possess them most powerfully are often the last to recognize them. The first form is intuition, the archetype of the prophet.
Those who carry this gift frequently know the truth before a single piece of evidence materializes. They do not speculate. They simply know. Like entering a space and sensing within seconds that something about it is fundamentally misaligned, even when nothing appears visibly wrong. Jung regarded intuition as direct contact with the collective unconscious, an antenna capable of receiving transmissions from dimensions that rational thinking has not yet reached. You may recall the last time you redirected your path because of an unexplainable pull, and later discovered exactly why that pull appeared when it did. Those small, inexplicable moments are the prophet announcing its presence. The second form is the capacity for empathy, the archetype of the healer. These individuals do not merely hear another person's account, they inhabit it. A friend may present a bright, composed exterior, yet within seconds the healer perceives the concealed grief behind the performance. Jung described this phenomenon as unconscious identification. The soul makes contact with another soul before language has the opportunity to intervene. You may feel genuinely depleted after supporting someone through difficulty, yet notice that your presence consistently leaves others feeling substantially lighter. This is not a deficiency. It is the unmistakable signature of a healing gift. Your psyche absorbs surrounding emotional weight so that others may set some of theirs down. The third form is the capacity for dreaming, the archetype of the dreamer. For those carrying this gift, dreams are not nocturnal entertainment. Their dreams possess architecture, messages, recurring symbols, and occasionally a prophetic quality that follows them into the waking day with unsettling clarity. Jung stated that dreams are correspondence from the unconscious, and for the dreamer, the unconscious writes with exceptional frequency and intention. Some wake with the vivid impression of a specific road, only to find themselves standing on that precise road several days later, as though the dream walked ahead of waking reality to prepare the path. Others discover solutions to problems that remained impenetrable during conscious hours. These are not imagination alone. There are passageways between consciousness and the unconscious,
locations where the archetype transmits its most direct signals. The fourth form is the capacity for connection with depth, the archetype of the wise one. For those who carry it, intuition is not merely a vague hunch. It is a clear interior voice that speaks at precisely the right moment. Sometimes a complete sentence, sometimes a single image, sometimes a single word arriving with crystalline authority. These transmissions frequently carry wisdom that exceeds ordinary analytical thinking, and they are remarkably, sometimes uncomfortably, accurate. Jung believed that as a person draws closer to the self, symbolic images begin appearing as active guidance. The wise one may receive these transmissions while walking, while paused in an apparently ordinary moment. Others may regard them as eccentric, yet their words arrive as a compass for someone else at the exact instant that compass is needed most. What unifies all these forms of the spiritual gift? They surface through the smallest gestures of ordinary existence. In a glance that perceives what someone is deliberately not saying. In a hunch you decide to follow, and thereby avoid something you will never fully know you avoided. In a dream that carries the unmistakable sensation of being guided by something that knows you better than you know yourself. Your spiritual gift is not something you must strain to acquire. It is something you have already been doing, only without knowing its name. Now we arrive at the signs that this gift is actively seeking to awaken within you. Jung once wrote that the world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will answer for you. He believed the soul does not awaken with thunder. It awakens through delicate, almost imperceptible movements, so subtle that they are easily missed. Yet, when you examine the trajectory of your life in retrospect, you recognize that it has been attempting to reach you for far longer than you realized. The first sign frequently manifests as unusually sharp intuition. Not the romanticized intuition described in popular books, but extremely practical, immediate moments. You are preparing to enter a situation and experience a sudden, sourceless impulse to alter your direction. You sense the presence of something misaligned even when every visible indicator confirms that everything is acceptable. Awakening intuition rarely arrives dramatically. It is more like someone placing a hand gently on your shoulder and whispering, "Pay attention here." According to Jung, when intuition sharpens beyond its ordinary baseline, the unconscious is transmitting a specific signal that you are prepared to examine yourself at greater depth, prepared to step into the liminal space, that hazy threshold between consciousness and the unconscious, where truth consistently chooses to speak. The next sign is heightened sensitivity to the energetic quality of environments and individuals. You enter a room and immediately register its atmosphere as weighted or expansive. You visit a location in the natural world and your nervous system relaxes as though that place has recognized you across a long absence. This sensitivity is not fragility. It functions like the capacity to detect radio frequencies. When your reception is calibrated, you receive more, feel more, and occasionally exhaust more rapidly. Many have spent years interpreting this as a personal deficiency. But from Jung's perspective,
It is a clear indication that the armor of the ego is thin enough for the subtle unconscious to begin its patient stirring.
Another powerful sign is the arrival of vivid, directional dreams. Many people report that from a certain point forward, their dream life transforms. The imagery intensifies. The narratives deepen. The experiences feel so authentically real that upon waking, the distinction between the dream world and waking reality requires a moment to reestablish. Jung regarded dreams as the mother tongue of the unconscious. When the unconscious wishes to awaken you, it does not send conventional messages. It dispatches symbols. It sends imagery of startling precision. It constructs stories that only your particular soul possesses the specific vocabulary to decipher. A sign that is frequently overlooked yet profoundly significant is the recurring experience of déjà vu. For Jung, this phenomenon is not merely a neurological curiosity. It can represent a moment when two distinct layers of experience make contact. That uncanny familiarity often emerges precisely when you are on the correct path, encountering the right person, or standing before a threshold your soul recognized long before your conscious mind arrived at the same location. It is as though the unconscious quietly confirms, yes, this is the one. Drop a 444 in the comments if you have felt this before. That strange, certain knowing that you have been here before. That number carries the frequency of protection and confirmation. It means you are not lost. You are exactly where you were always supposed to arrive. When the unconscious begins to stir, the texture of life changes. Things that previously commanded your attention begin to feel hollow. Things that previously intimidated you become approachable. You begin to perceive everything with different eyes. Slower, deeper, more essentially true. Many describe this shift as sensing a light behind ordinary reality. Something indistinct yet unwavering, guiding without a map. That is the movement from ego to self, from a life conducted at the surface to one rooted in genuine depth. But here is what Jung also knew, and what most discussions of spiritual gifts deliberately avoid. Before the light appears with any real consistency, the shadow arrives first. The moment you begin approaching your authentic nature, the shadow rises to stand between you and the gift. And to genuinely understand what you carry, you must pass through that layer. The initial fear typically centers on the experiences and emotions newly surfacing within you. As intuition intensifies, self-doubt amplifies in precise proportion. I am overthinking. I am fabricating significance. My sensitivity is disproportionate. As dreams achieve greater clarity, anxiety about their meaning accumulates. When you begin registering others' emotional states with heightened acuity, the desire to withdraw from social contact intensifies as a protective measure. All of these reactions are the shadow operating exactly as designed. The shadow does not obstruct your access to the gift through brute force. It employs self-doubt. It persuades you that what is awakening within you is excessive, abnormal, ungovernable, when in reality
It is only unfamiliar to the conscious ego. It is not unfamiliar at all to your soul. The shadow also consistently assumes the form of fear of genuine visibility. Every authentic spiritual gift renders you more sensitive, more perceptive, more directly present in your encounters with the world. And accompanying that intensification arrives the ancient question, what will they think of me? This fear runs extraordinarily deep. It is built from accumulated experience. Perhaps as a child, your intuitive observations were dismissed as excessive imagination. Perhaps your sensitivity was labeled as weakness. Perhaps the moments you spoke from your deepest knowing were met with ridicule. The mind carefully stores these wounds and converts them into shadow, causing you to conceal the most powerful aspect of your entire nature. According to Jung, what we were taught to disown in childhood becomes the shadow in adulthood. And therefore, your most refined quality is almost certainly the one you most fear exposing. Another manifestation of the shadow is fear of surrendering control. The spiritual gift reaches into regions of the soul so profound that familiar governance no longer applies. Strong intuition produces knowing before evidence exists. Guiding dreams arrive on their own schedule with no regard for your preference. The conscious mind perpetually seeks to manage, categorize, and explain. But the spiritual gift operates according to different principles entirely. And that vastness disturbs many people deeply. The shadow positions itself to preserve the old, familiar territory, where everything remains predictable and contained. But that same territory is precisely where the soul cannot expand. Jung consistently emphasized that the shadow is not an adversary. It is a repository, a holding place for every capacity you once feared, disowned, or were never permitted to express. The irony that cuts deepest is this. The shadow makes you feel you are too much, when the actual truth is that you are becoming more precise, more sensitive, more essentially yourself. It persuades you that you are losing your way when you are in reality departing the old path to step onto the life your soul has long been quietly constructing. The first time you genuinely feel your sensitivity, you feel exhausted by it. The first time you recognize the power of your intuition, you feel shaken by it. The first time a dream carries an unmistakable message, you feel unsettled by it. But these responses are not evidence that you are moving in the wrong direction. They are evidence that you are opening the door. If you have ever stood before your own depth and felt the impulse to retreat, leave a 333 in the comments. That number carries the frequency of expansion, the precise energy that meets us at the threshold between who we have been and who we are becoming. You are not alone at that threshold. Far more people are standing there than you know. Now we arrive at one of the most practically essential capacities in this entire journey, learning to distinguish the true voice of the soul from the disturbance generated by the mind. Because the interior world, once it begins to open, is not silent. It is dense with movement, sensation, and competing signals. And the capacity to discriminate between them determines everything. Jung articulated it with characteristic precision. The unconscious communicates through symbols and through silence. The ego communicates through fear and through noise. These are not the same frequency, though they can produce similar surface sensations. The most common confusion is between intuition and anxiety. Both generate the sensation that something significant is imminent, but their quality is entirely distinct. Intuition arrives like a shift in the temperature of the air. It does not generate tension, it simply illuminates. It directs attention without demanding it. Anxiety, by contrast, arrives like an alarm that cannot locate its own source, urgent, fragmented, cycling without resolution. The clarifying question is simple and reliable. Does this sensation move me toward greater clarity, or does it pull me deeper into confusion? Intuition consistently points toward the former. Anxiety is expert at the latter. Another common confusion exists between empathy and emotional absorption. Those carrying the spiritual gift frequently perceive others' emotional states with exceptional ease. But this perception can shift to a point where the boundary between your own emotional experience and that of another person becomes genuinely unclear. You are functioning well. Then you spend time with someone carrying significant distress, and within minutes, their weight has become indistinguishable from your own. True emotion has a traceable origin, a story, a personal history, a psychological root. Absorbed emotion arrives suddenly and carries no such root structure. The practical question is equally simple. Did this sensation originate within me, or did it appear at the moment I encountered that particular person or environment? If it dissipates when you leave the space, it was never fundamentally yours to carry. A more subtle distinction involves the difference between genuinely symbolic dreams and the mind's ordinary nightly processing. Not every vivid dream carries an intentional message. Jung distinguished between them through texture and residue. Guiding dreams possess strong, coherent imagery, recurring symbolic elements, and a quality that persists throughout the following day, the sense of having received correspondence that demands a considered response. Processing dreams, by contrast, are the mind performing maintenance, tangled, fragmented, reflecting the accumulated debris of daily experience rather than the deeper patterns of the unconscious. The reliable distinction lies in what you carry with you upon waking. A true dream leaves resonance. A processing dream leaves only the mild disorientation of sleep itself. Jung offered the essential principle with characteristic directness. Your visions will become clear only when you are willing to look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. The ability to distinguish authentic inner experience from mental noise is not achieved through analysis. It is achieved through sustained, honest attention to the quality of sensation itself. Intuition relaxes the body. Anxiety contracts it. Authentic emotion steadies the breath. Absorbed noise disrupts it. The body knows before the mind formulates the question. And now, the 3 steps that move this from understanding into lived reality. The first is observation. For 3 consecutive days, record 3 moments each day in which you experience something that exceeds the ordinary baseline of your awareness. You are not required to interpret or analyze anything at this stage. You are simply gathering the small fragments you have consistently dismissed as fleeting or insignificant. Because it is precisely those fragments, the ones you almost let go, that carry the unconscious's most consistent directional signals. The second step is recognition. Once you have accumulated enough of these small recordings, recurring patterns will begin to emerge. What Jung called the red thread of the psyche. The spiritual gift never announces itself through a single dramatic revelation. It reveals itself through behaviors, reactions, and intuitive responses that have repeated throughout your life without your understanding why they kept returning. If your recordings cluster around the experience of being the person others confide in without prompting, you may carry the healer's gift. If they center on dreams of directional precision, you may lean toward the dreamer's gift. Recognition is the experience of sitting quietly with scattered pieces and discovering, with sudden clarity, that they have always belonged to the same picture. You will know you have arrived at recognition when a particular feeling surfaces. Ah, so this is what I have been doing all along, without ever knowing its name. The third step is experimentation. Jung held firmly that any genuine psychological understanding must pass through lived experience before it achieves the status of truth. If you suspect strong intuition, spend 1 week making small decisions based on your first, unfiltered response before the analytical mind has the opportunity to construct its alternative narrative. If you believe you carry the gift of empathy, practice observing others' emotional states without asking for confirmation, and attend carefully to what their subsequent behavior reveals. If your dreams possess unusual vividness and direction, pose a specific question to yourself in the moments before sleep, and record the first image or sentence that arrives upon waking. Experimentation is not the performance of ability. It is the process of discovering whether the gift creates genuine, measurable impact in the texture of your actual life. These 3 steps align completely with Jung's essential spirit: learning to perceive, learning to understand, and finally, learning to live. And now, the principles that determine whether the gift becomes genuine strength or remains permanently concealed. Jung was unwavering on the first. The gift is not for display, it is for service. Strong intuition, profound empathy, guiding dreams, none of these confer superiority. Jung consistently framed the spiritual gift as a form of responsibility, an ability carried not to demonstrate something about you, but to offer something to others. When the gift is placed in service of the ego, it contracts. When it is placed in service of others, it expands. This is not merely poetic. It is the precise mechanism by which the gift either develops or atrophies. Jung's second principle is one of the most quietly extraordinary in all his work. When you live in genuine alignment with your interior calling, life reorganizes itself in ways that could not have been predicted or engineered. He named this synchronicity, meaningful coincidence.
the right person arriving at the exact moment you were prepared to meet them. The door opening precisely as you were determining that no door remained. Someone whose emotional sensitivity was long treated as a burden, suddenly finding that others seek them out without understanding why. Because the frequency of authentic alignment is perceptible even to those who cannot name what they are sensing. When you step into the soul's true frequency, randomness transforms into navigation. And finally, Jung believed that every spiritual gift is a form of light. Not a spectacular, consuming light designed to draw attention. A steady, enduring illumination, like a lamp that has never gone out, regardless of how many rooms it has passed through. That light may live in the quality of your presence in a difficult conversation, in the accuracy of your intuition at a moment when someone needed accurate perception, in the dream you shared that became someone else's turning point, in the way a space somehow softens when you enter it, though no one could explain why. Light need not be brilliant to carry value. It only needs to be true. And here is where I need you to remain present, because what follows is the part of this journey that most people never reach. Not because it is difficult, but because it requires something the ego resists with remarkable consistency. It requires you to accept that the gift was never lost. You did not fail to develop it. You were not passed over. You were not given something incomplete. Everything we have traced together in this journey, the ancestral roots, the archetype, the shadow, the signs of awakening, the process of recognition, all of it has been describing something that has been operating within you, with or without your awareness, for your entire life. The gift was never waiting for your permission. It was waiting for your attention. Think about the moments throughout your existence where you knew something before you were supposed to know it, where your presence shifted the emotional temperature of a room without a single deliberate action, where a dream left you with a direction so clear it felt less like imagination and more like instruction. You may have dismissed every one of those moments, attributed them to coincidence or anxiety or an overactive mind. But they were not those things. They were the gift knocking on the door from the inside, wondering when you would finally turn around. Jung spent the latter decades of his life returning repeatedly to a single conviction: that the greatest tragedy in human experience is not suffering. It is not loss. It is a person arriving at the end of their life still carrying the most essential part of themselves unlived, still folded up, still waiting for a moment of permission that never arrived, still called fate when it was always, in truth, a choice. You are not that person. The fact that you are here, that you stayed through all of this, that something in you refused to scroll past, is not coincidence. It is the unconscious making its case one more time, with a patience that should genuinely humble you. It has been waiting quietly, without accusation, for as long as you have been alive. It does not require you to be certain. It does not require you to be fearless. It does not require you to have it all mapped out before you begin. It only requires you to stop calling this fate. Whatever you felt in this space today,
whether it was recognition or resistance, or the specific ache of something almost remembered. Trust it. That feeling is not noise. It is not sentimentality. It is the most precise signal your interior world knows how to send. And it has been sending it in various forms across the entire length of your life. The gift within you knows its own timing, but it has been ready. It has always been ready. The only question that has ever truly mattered is whether you are finally ready to receive what you have always been carrying. Drop 11 in the comments if something in this space reached you today. Not the surface you, the one reading these words in the deepest room of yourself. 11 is the number of awakening, the frequency that marks the moment a soul stops drifting and begins, with quiet and absolute intention, to move toward what it came here to do. That movement begins now, not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, not when you feel more prepared. Now, in this exact breath. With whatever clarity you have and whatever shadow still remains. This is your first step back to yourself, and it is the only step that has ever been required.